One. Hello and welcome to the Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis, and today I'm very grateful, very humbly joined by Ryan Hough. Ryan, male model, I saw, male model, former actor in Hollywood, turned self-sabotage mindset coach. Ryan, welcome to the show today, mate. Looking forward to hearing all about your story and how you went from male model, getting the abs out for the girls to a actor to a self-sabotage mindset coach. What a transformation, mate. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I guess I never really used male model before, but yeah, I'll adopt that as well.
I gave you a Google yesterday and I went, oh, okay, not only an actor, but a model too. Got the shirt off and yeah, look out. I reckon you might be my age when you're doing that, I reckon.
That's awesome. No, a pleasure, man. Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah. So Ryan, so how did you go from, well, I guess one extreme to the other? And what is your story and how did you get to where you are now? And yeah, all jokes aside, you went from one extreme to this end, and how did that all sort of transform for you?
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's a loaded and huge question, right?
It
So
is.
I'll do my best to try to concise that a little bit, but yeah, man. It's we'd have this sort of like through my 20-year plus acting career. I share the classic story of actors working in restaurants or bars. And so we'd have this ongoing joke of like, "Oh, you're an actor, cool. Oh yeah, nice. Which restaurant?"
Yeah.
And and so um of course, one of the cool things about that, though I don't know whether it was cool or not, but one of the things that I had the opportunity to see was a lot of human interactions and witnessing people in their own self-sabotaging behaviors and how they acted out. I, of course, was a huge participant in that and had my own fair share of it as well. And then additionally, during that time in my acting career, being in different roles, I was, able to evoke different human emotions and how easily we could shift from, one state to another. And by, trying on different characters and stories. And this all led me to give myself permission to explore the human psyche, psychology, and why we truly do the things that we do. And ultimately, this led me to the journey of self-exploration and the human brain and the subconscious and the inner work, and ultimately led me to find who we know, Jason Christoff, and his work as well. But and that was in 2020. That was when we were all under lockdown and all the craziness. And it seems like every year it just gets wilder and wilder, of course, too. But acting, for me, acting was always a part of like self-exploration as well. You're learning just as much about yourself in certain circumstances and situations, and so you're trying to emulate and make that relatable to the audience. And so it wasn't. I hear you. It wasn't necessarily like a huge extreme, like one end of the spectrum to the other, because it was all about human behavior in
Mm.
the end. And it seemed like it was sort of like a nice, fun, seamless trajectory. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
What started your journey of transformation? Was there like a moment where you had like a rock bottom? People that listen to my podcast know that I fell through a table one night talking to some young girls. Like we all have a moment. Was there a moment in your life? Couldn't it might have been
yeah,
physical, might have been a mental, emotional. Yeah. Did you sort of have a moment where
yeah,
like something needs to change?
absolutely. I've definitely probably had a few of those for sure. They're just different levels and then different times, and then we end up kind of either retracting back a little bit. But yeah, the big one was for me. I'm kind of like a recovering nice guy, so to speak. I don't know if you're familiar with Robert
Mm.
Glover's work. He wrote a book on No More Mr. Nice Guy, and so for me that was sort of a definitely a part of me. I used manipulation tactics in order to get what I thought, what I wanted, covert contracts, not really telling the other what I really wanted, not feeling like secure in my needs and whatnot. And so it was sort of it got to a breaking point of where like I had to kind of see this victim mentality that I had in me. And there's sort of like this psychology uh statement or whatnot. I don't know who exactly coined it, but it's basically like if you can spot it, then you've got it.
Mm.
And that always kind of resonated with me. And so I could see in my family, in certain family members as well, that there was sort of this perpetual victimhood mentality, and I was being faced with that constantly, where there was sort of this victim and this perpetrator, and I was just on this vicious cycle of constantly repeating these patterns, and and then I just kind of got sick of it essentially. I just wanted to break that pattern. And that, of course, was challenging because as a recovering nice guy, um, you don't really want to necessarily rock the boat. You're always about, keeping things cool and nice. And so um, that was hard. That was a challenge. Of course, it also helped pave the way for me to get comfortable with being disliked, not necessarily, um, you know, not being the golden boy or golden child. And so, um, yeah, that led me to like this self-exploration. I ended up going into, I don't know whether depression or not, but it was definitely a rock bottom. Like I needed to. I use social media as almost like accountability buddy for me. So I just ended up posting a few vulnerable posts about my own victimhood mentality, my anger, my shame, my guilt that I experienced because I guess what I feared most was not necessarily being exposed or having that vulnerability, though that was tough and challenging, but I didn't want to be a hypocrite.
Mm.
So I used those posts as a form to stay in alignment and be accountable to myself. And again, if I had challenges with certain folks that I was, that I loved and my loved ones, I needed to also see that I inhabited those traits as well. And yeah, that led me to, a series of endeavors. I ended up going to a Vipassana retreat, which was like a 10-day meditation retreat, and that was profound. Just you're meditating like 12 to 14 hours a day. You're not speaking to anybody. Um, you're you're essentially just alone with your thoughts. And so, by the fourth or fifth day, I can't remember exactly, but it was profound. I just remember, having these emotions, and I'm just looking around, and I went from like this like euphoric elation to like this anger and like resentment and just bitterness, right? And I was like, man, like nothing's happening except just the story that I'm telling myself to myself. And that was really profound. And of course that was, some permission, some self-love. And yeah, it really allowed me to just honor myself, give myself some of these gifts that I guess I wasn't really doing by doing my own sort of substance abuse and just doing these crazy tactics, right? So as an actor, you're always trying to emulate, circumstances and situations. So I had an acting coach, which was great. She was a great coach, but she formed a story which I think all actors can relate to, and I know that I certainly did. So she ended up like as like a young actress, she was coming out of a studio from an acting class, and she ended up getting mugged and got her purse stolen. And the first thing that she said that she remembered was like, holy shit. And then the second thing was, I got to remember this for my work. And the entire, the whole studio, like all these other actors were all laughing because we all could relate that like when things happen in life, we were always constantly looking for, okay, how can I use this and soak this up to be to use it for my acting work. And so like you're attached to your feelings and emotions, and that can be amazing on one hand if you're healthy
Mm.
and you have a good mindset, but it can be disastrous if you're acting from like craziness and looking to like hold on to all these, old negative self-limiting beliefs and patterns because you want to basically maybe utilize that in a role or whatnot. So um, I went on a tangent there, but I
That's
don't
all
know
right.
if that answered your question or not. But yeah.
Nah, it definitely did. It's a lots of obviously unpack there too. Like that retreat sounds something like, you know, as we like, it's just awesome to have another man on here doing good things. So there's not enough. I don't think there's not enough men out there doing what we're doing, and it's really awesome to see there's more men standing up, rising up, especially given the times we're in. And also that retreat sounds interesting. So you sat, we see it not sat, you might have lied down as well, but you just in a room by yourself for 10 days, silent darkness, I would assume too. Is that sort of how it
Was
works?
it? It wasn't darkness, but yeah, that would be something that would be of interest for me as well.
Yeah,
Like they
same.
have
That's why I said
darkness
it.
retreats. Yeah, they have darkness retreats, right? Where you're alone and you're in like basically pitch black, dark. Um, yeah, no, I haven't done that, but no, the Vipassana retreat was basically you were in a group setting,
Yep.
um, and you had to maintain kind of like a lotus. I think it was like a lotus position, basically sitting up cross-legged and so you always stuck with like the same position or the same like seating area every week, and I was basically like the second row behind the front, and I played I was an athlete, so I played lots of sports, and I just wasn't necessarily all that flexible. I hadn't really done much yoga or stretching. And so by like the after the first day, man, like sitting in that position for so long, like my knees and like I was getting cramps. And so I ended up getting like you could grab pillows and you could like support yourself. And other people who had, either like some, physical issues or disabilities, they could like sit in actual chairs and do the same thing. My ego, I had pride. I was like, I'm not going to do that. But I ended up by the end of like the 10th day, man, I was like, I basically had like basically pretty much made myself a chair with pillows stacked up. And of course, you end up chatting with all the other people in the group at the end, which was kind of weird too, because like on the 10th day, you start to hear chatter, you start to hear people's voices, and it trips you out. You're like, what? What's going on? But then we end up talking, and they're all like laughing and poking fun at like, dude, you were like you were basically like you sat in a pillow chair. But yeah, no, so physically, of course, it was kind of gnarly. It was kind of grueling. And of course, mentally too, you're you're there. You're entertaining all the fleeting thoughts that are coming in and out. And but yeah, it was profound, man. It was amazing. Um, yeah, amazing experience. And that's what it was. Like, they talk a lot about that. Like, wisdom comes through experience. You can read a book, and it's amazing. You can, learn so much, but true wisdom is like an experience. And
I
so
agree.
that was an amazing experience for me for sure. And it was profound. It was all in, great timing too. It was in September of 2019.
Yep.
And so I had done some of this, I was sort of like the black sheep of the family at the time, just because of, my stance and what I wanted to have real relationships, real like dynamics and not these fake ones
Mm.
where we were repeating these patterns of, perpetrator victim stuff. And then, I got into like this habit of like, okay, if you already think that I'm like this guy, then I'll really give you an example of being being an asshole, so to speak. And that, of course,
Mm.
didn't really necessarily bode well for my stance. And then over time, I got more on my own side. I started to kind of really kind of look at it and look at look at what I wanted. And then I realized like over time too, you get addicted to your own indignation, your own um victimhood mentality, right? And then you get addicted because it happens so much that you get addicted to the patterns that are no longer existing right now. So um so that was a whole other realm of like unlearning and unpacking as well, right? So uh, but but yeah, and then 2020 rolled around, and then I was pretty outspoken with all that craziness, and but that all I think led it was like in a weird way it was all like divine timing
Mm.
because I don't think I would have been able to have been like at least I mean I wasn't really like crazy. Yeah, I pretty much saw like right from the start, but it was more or less trying to, I was asking questions. I was like using like this art of inquiry. I was asking questions to try to see like what people thought. And I was okay with being ostracized and dismissed because I had already experienced that with, the people that I love the most. And so in order to do that, you have to be okay with yeah, with not being for everyone.
Mm.
And that as an actor, I think your number one um, objective is to be loved. And so I had to unlearn that.
And how was
Yeah.
that? And how was that process? Because it
Well,
sounds
just,
like you've gone from people pleaser to, how was that journey of, yeah, unlearning all of that?
yeah. I think, just realizing that, I have in my initial questionnaire, I have a question like, what do you value more? I think something along those lines. What do you value more, truth or love? And I love like the answers are so
Hmm.
varied. It's amazing. I love it. But I think it is. I think it's truly like it's one and the same almost. Well, at least how I define it. Um, and of course there's no right or wrong answer first and foremost,
Hmm.
but I think, truth is love. And so yeah, just being not worried about being loved, but just being loving and being kind, but not nice, you know. I think there's a difference between nice and kind. And and then I think, you know, the the understanding that if you're telling the truth to hurt or to harm someone, if you have a friend and you are envious or jealous of them and you want to tell them the truth about their relationship that their girlfriend is doing something that she shouldn't be doing. If you have that agenda behind it, then that's not necessarily loving. And that's so the truth might be there, but your intention behind it is not in
Yeah.
alignment. But if you're there like, hey, I want you to know this because your intentions are true in the sense that you're loving and you want the best for your friend, then I think there's a difference there. So I think, it's there's a lot of nuance there. There's a lot of you have to really it's all about intention. And I think that's really important. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, sorry, did I answer that
Yeah, you
to your
did. Yeah.
question?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Okay,
did.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we all have these habits or these thought patterns or these things that we allowed to take control of us for such a long time. And if my listeners know, porn and alcohol and all those things were, well, porn was the root, but the other things were just other forms of escape. Was there anything in your younger days, probably when you were my age and a bit younger back in your days, like what were your, I guess, habits, thought patterns, things that the we both know that keep you sort of stuck and in a little box? What were some things that you were doing that you've now sort of don't do anymore?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether I don't do it anymore. I just think I have a little bit better grasp on them. And yeah, I think there's definitely some things I don't do as well. But like, negative thinking,
Mm.
um, you know, the stories that you tell yourself. I mean, mindset for me is like basically the story that you tell yourself to yourself about yourself. And so if that's a crummy story, then you're not necessarily going to get very far. There may be things that may happen, like an event or a trauma. You know, it's valid and it's true. It happened. But the story that you tell yourself is what you made it mean about you. And so I had a lot of crummy thinking
Mm.
early on, and then that led to a lot of seeking approval,
Yeah.
right? Seeking approval was big for me. That kind of ties into the nice guy,
Yeah.
elements of things. And so, when you're always looking for something external outside of yourself, and when it's all really kind of within. And so um, so I'm getting, I think I have a good grasp of that. It still rears its head, but I think again, with awareness comes, like, you're always acting. If you're acting from awareness, you're acting with consciousness. And I
Mm.
think that's really important. Um, and so you can see, you're like, okay, wait a second. Like, again, like if I can spot it, then I've got it. So I need to look at that and be like, okay, cool. Well, what's the lesson here, Ryan? Or is this, am I doing this to seek some of approval? Or am I afraid because I'm going to be afraid for how it may be perceived? Um, and then I can ask the next question of, like, okay, well, why do I want to do this? Am I doing this because I want to be rebellious, or am I doing this because I think that it's an important lesson or something to share? And but yeah, man, I mean, I definitely had experience, with smoking weed and drugs and alcohol and all of that. I never I'm fortunate in the sense that I don't think I had, crazy addictions to any of that, but I definitely utilized those to numb myself, or to just, to fit in, to get
Mm.
that approval. Porn for sure. Absolutely. That was definitely, that was, it's so prevalent, right?
Mm.
But I was fortunate that I was in a relationship, I guess back in, you know, I guess it was like a 17 or so. I just was, like, I wanted to have more of an intimate connection with my then girlfriend. And I realized, like, man, if I'm continuously, like, looking at porn, like, how can I really be and have that connection?
Mm.
So I was always seeking something outside of that. And I was yeah, I was fortunate that I was able to break out of that realm. And then I just, again, I just think, I want to be, I just look at it like, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything, because I want to be my best version of myself, and all that shit doesn't make me great.
I
It
can relate to
it's
that. And I think a lot of people
Yeah,
can too. Yeah. It's
yeah,
so true. Like it doesn't make me great.
yeah,
It's so
yeah,
simple, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I love how you like you have that inner dialogue and you ask yourself those questions. You know? Yeah, that's a real powerful thing to do too. And it's something I do a lot too, you know. You sort of do something, oh, why did I do that? Or how'd that make me feel? Or am I or before you make a choice too, you're like, oh, is this leading me down the path I want to be going down, or is this taking me somewhere else? And it's like that inner dialogue, those inner questions can be really powerful and very transformative as well. It's a
100%,
powerful
man.
thing.
Yeah. What and how questions are really important too, rather than why. Why
Yeah.
can, like, tend to, like, keep repeating the same cycle over and over again. Like, why are you doing this? Why am I always this? Because, there's ego tied up in that, right? Ego wants nothing more than to affirm and confirm its opinion of itself. And so, we can end up, like, holding on and fighting for our own self-limiting beliefs, because it's tied with our identity, and it's familiar. And so, by asking some, like, phrasing it, like you mentioned, like the how and the what, or can be help to kind of break those patterns. It can kind of create these new neural pathways that
Yeah.
help get, get you unstuck. Yeah,
Yeah. And that's a good segue into my next question. Did you to become unstuck, did you you did do Jason's program, so that was an element of asking for help, but did you also ask for help during some of this stuff as well? When you were probably really, really struggling, was it sort of a, put your hand up, look to universe, spirit, God, whatever, I just need some help, did help find you, or how did sort of help
absolutely.
come along for you?
Absolutely, man. No, for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I utilized so I was sort of like the, like the epitome of the like the struggling actor, right? So I had, some finances were like a little challenge. I also kind of felt with like this lacking mindset. I felt like, well, I have to like struggle in order to kind of quote unquote make it. So I was always constantly, if I did, if I did make money, which, bartending, you do, you make money, but then you end up like spending it all. But I never really invested in myself until later on. And what I also did was I didn't really necessarily like find coaches until later, but I listened to a lot of podcasts. I
Mm,
listened to like a lot of, I read books. I loved, self-help books, or healing books. And I definitely gave myself permission to explore that element. And I was, either unconsciously or consciously, I was aware of the content that I was feeding my mind. I realized that like, man, if I listen to this depressing, melancholy music, it's not going to make me feel very good.
mhm,
It just perpetuates more of this melancholy, which is, depending on, what I want, you know, that might work, but I don't think it really was serving me. So I was really intentional with feeding my mind and the content and my, social media. I eliminated, I stopped following people that didn't, I guess, feed my soul or that didn't make me feel good as well. And so that helped. Um, because then again, like, like diet, like we want to make sure that we're not ingesting, garbage food, but we also have to make sure that we're not ingesting crazy content that's not really necessarily feeding our higher self or our soul or purpose. Um, but yeah, that definitely was beneficial for sure, which was like curating the content that you're absorbing was huge.
mm. And it's just a matter of being consciously aware of that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and then asking yourself that question, is this serving me?
Is this getting me closer to where I want to be?
Mm.
Like, yeah, is this, I love the fact that through a couple of exchanges, you mentioned legend. It was like awesome. It's like it made me feel good. But I was like, yeah, like, is this legendary? Is this going to be something that I'm going to be feeling good about? Like, is this something I want to look back and be grateful for and be proud of? Okay, well, no. So, yeah, like, I always, I don't know where I got this from, but it was, I wanted to continuously do things that made me feel a certain way about myself. And and the reality is that you got to kind of do it every day.
Yeah.
Like there's a comedian that talks about like, he wished that he could just walk his dog all at once,
Yeah.
basically, and just be done with it. There, I walked you for 25 miles and now you're done. It's like it doesn't work that way. Like you got to continue to walk them every day. And so you got to kind of continue to do things that you're going to make you feel a certain way about yourself every day, especially as men as well, right? Like we're
Mm.
so action oriented, and it's important that we formulate um, actions that are in tune with our purpose, with our the reason why we're here, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's something all men would can, sort of relate to, because I talk about too, like we have feelings and we have emotions and we have, like, we're human too, and sort of gets lost in all these different sort of divide and conquer groups of your feminist groups and all these things. It's like, well, men are victims too. Men have feelings, and sometimes out there in the modern world, men sort of get shut down a lot, and it sort of doesn't help that in general, men just don't ask for help. I believe that's a generational sort of program amongst men because, our fathers' ages and grandfathers' ages was the same thing. It's like just toughen up.
Yeah,
Crying's weak. You're weak. Asking for help's weak. Brush yourself off and just get on with it. That's the sort of Aussie mind virus, you could say, that's a generational thing. It's like, well, yeah, like we're all here to break that. We're all here to be like, no, we do need help and we are human too. And we have feelings, we have emotions, and we can cry. And that's one thing I'm real big on is that there's a video of me going around on the internet of like, I just went, I had a 20-minute theory. I'm going to record this and show the world that men, it's okay to cry. I didn't really necessarily know what it was for or why, but I was just upset that day. I allowed myself to feel that. And it's big because we need more men like us. And yeah, anyone out there, just express how you're feeling. Even if it is sad or whatever, like just express that. So powerful.
absolutely,
Do you
man. No, for
agree?
sure. I do agree. And I also think
Yeah.
that within like there's a balance, right? I think, I don't know, I don't mean to poo-poo on any other little like men's groups or whatnot, but I am, I look and I watch and observe, and there's some groups that are think they're trying to align with sort of a like a healing modality that's geared towards or that mimics women's,
Yep.
where like, they're, I think there's like another video where like there's all a bunch of dudes in a pool and they're all like holding each other, like, like kind of rocking in a pool. And no disrespect intended. I just don't think it's a balance of making sure that, um, we're so uniquely different, both men and women, right?
Mm.
Um, and how we express and how we heal is going to be different as well. And so I think, there's a gentleman, his name's Boyd Vardy. He has a great book. And he does these excursions in South Africa on a safari. And he takes these men and groups of, both men, I guess both men and women, but I'm talking just specifically, the ones that are geared just with the men, and they go on this like journey, and it's through the journey of going through nature and hunting, not hunting, but they're tracking lions or they're tracking wildlife, and then they're camping, and of course they're just in the element. And through that process they are also, um the conversations that they develop, and the camaraderie with the other men, it's all kind of falls into a natural process rather than being forced in kind of like a circle or in a modality that is a little bit more geared towards basically like a women's group, which is fine, and I think some men find importance in that for sure. By all means, that's awesome. I just think you just have to be aware of that. But
Okay.
I don't know if
I
I
agree.
articulated my, yeah,
No,
yeah. So
I no,
it's
I do agree, and I find that the men's group sitting around a fire can be so powerful.
oh yeah,
Like just staring into the fire and you're just having that real deep chat, and you're sort of connecting that way. I find men, having a men's circle, men's group around a fire can be very transformative and powerful. You know what I mean?
absolutely, man. It's primal, it's tribal. Oh, for
Mm.
sure. You're in
That's probably
nature.
better than sitting around a sound bowl or sitting around something like being in a pool holding hands. Like that's more of a manly sort of thing to do. And it's been,
Yeah,
it's sort of what we've done in eons, right? Like it's around a fire and just have a chat.
for sure. Absolutely. And listen, and there's nothing wrong with sound bowls as well,
I
because
love
I've
sound
definitely
bowls,
had
but I'm just saying,
I absolutely, and I've
Yeah.
had my own experience with that. It's a profound. It's amazing. I do breath work as well, and I've
Yep.
had I've been a participant in breath work and it's amazing for sure. Yeah. So I just think it's just a matter of balancing it all with, I think, with
Yeah.
action and not necessarily just taking what works maybe with women and then just applying it to like a men's group. I think we just have to be mindful of I don't know. I don't know whether it's so translatable, right?
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. If there's a piece of advice out there you would give someone that's starting their journey, Ryan, that's listening and watching right now, and they're resonating with you and your journey and your story from, what would be some advice that you would give someone now that's about to begin that journey of learning, I guess, the world truths and their own truths that are within?
Yeah. Well, I would first listen. I would just listen to where they're at and try to meet them with where they're at, wherever that looks like that journey. Um, and then yeah, I think when it comes to like a story, for example, or if they're looking at maybe some negative self-talk or something like that, I think um understanding the importance of the power of the pen. The pen to paper is amazing, right? If you can
Yeah.
get that story out on paper, it it creates some distance between the story that's trapped, that's basically just, all convoluted. It's not, you can't really decipher what's like fictional or what's factual, what's real, what isn't. And if you can get it on paper, you create a little bit of distance. You can just kind of look at it what it is. Whether that be journaling, and then from journaling, you can like almost create almost like an own like personal incident report. Just just explain like the facts. This is what happened. And and then from there we can, look at maybe reframing things. We can look at how we can replace a word or add a word. There's something that Mark England, he's a great coach. He speaks about this. He's all about story work, and I've incorporated a lot of that into it. But he does a thing called should detox, and so we all have this idea of what we should be doing, and it feels crappy. It doesn't feel good, right? Every time that we say like we should do something, it just creates this um, pressure and obligation to do something. And if we can really like just literally take that word out, should, and replace it with could, it just creates a little bit more possibility. It creates a little bit more levity. It's less pressure. And then we can take could out. We can add can. I can. I can go to the gym. Okay. So there's like a little possibility. It's like, yeah, all right. There's no pressure or obligation with that. It's like, and then you can take can and then you apply will. I will go to the
Yeah.
gym. Okay. Well then that just becomes then like it's just a part of you. But if it's like I should go to the gym, well, it's like, all right, that's a lot, So again, like words, what we think of words as being like this ability to describe our environment, describe our experiences. I mean, it's true to a degree, but it also words really they create our reality. They create our environment. And if we're conscious and aware of how we're applying those words, it really truly is an impactful hack or change that we can develop and create right away. And and then yeah, and then I think there's also like there's a rule, like there's a 30-50-80 rule. So when we pen to paper, if we're trying to excel at something or learn something, you retain about 30% of what you hear, 50% of what you write down, and then 80% of what you try to teach. And so they've done studies with students, like trying to find the differences between students who type their notes or those who write their notes with like a pen to paper. And when you're writing, you're truly using not only your visual acuity because you're writing it, you're seeing it. You're also auditorily, you're hearing it, and then so you're creating new neural pathways as you're developing and as you're actually writing it. And and then to get out of this, whatever everyone's talking about, the matrix or whatnot, right? It's this idea that um the pen is truly mightier than the sword. And so you have all these statutes and codes, that the government, this fictional government, is trying to, to create. Um, it's remarkable with the same things of how they get you into these predicaments with these codes and statutes. You can also get yourself out of it by writing and keeping files and documents and a stroke of a pen, which is your sign of nature, your signature. And so there's remedy within that. Um, and then yeah, just understanding that, like, they say, like, it's all a riddle, really. Like, that's why it says, like, why they say codes, right? Like, there's here in the States, it's UCC, Universal Commercial Codes. Everything is commerce. And so if you understand that it's really just a riddle, it's like a puzzle that you have to unlearn and to also then, re-assimilate and put back together. And it takes it takes some application, of course, but it can be profound, and you can start to realize, okay, wait a second here. It's not this doom and gloom of not only my own personal story, but then, like, unlearning what this reality really is. And it could be, overwhelming, right? You're like, holy crap, there's a lot of evil that's going on
Mhm.
right now. And I think what evil is just the absence of God or source or the universe or whatever modality you want to, attach to that. But it's the absence of God.
Mhm.
And so it's not, it's like darkness, right? Like, darkness is measured by the absence of light. And so it doesn't really exist in the sense that you're just taking light away. So as soon as you add a little bit of light in there, the darkness dissipates. And so we just add in our own uniqueness, our own gifts to the world.
I love that you've gone here, man, because I was waiting for this chat, I guess. I find
Yeah.
it too, like, could ask you what we could just delve into what this reality really is. But I find on some level, I'm just going to raise you one here, like a chess game. I'm just going to raise you one. So, or
Yep.
poker even, sorry, poker. I'm just going to raise you one. So, I find that yeah, you're talking about darkness and light and its absence of God, its absence of this stuff. Do you find that that's a mirror for us? So I'm just going to give you a sort of an example here. So for me, for a long time, my darkness or my evil that existed within me existed in the world. So I've now gone on that transformative journey, and I find that people in general too are afraid of going back and shining their own light on that darkness. So meaning that they're afraid to step into their power and step into that truer version of themselves because they're afraid to shine a light on their own dark. And I find the universe or the world or whatever is a mirror. It mirrors us back to our reality. So if that's the case, are we all afraid of shining the light on the darkness in the world too? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, it gets kind of into shadow work, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, man. No, I think it's important, right? Because we need to really, truly, truly see, again, kind of what I pointed to earlier, which was basically shadow work, right? If I can spot it, means that I've got it. So if I can see it in someone else, that means that I have to kind of
Yeah, it's like a
see
mirror.
where that see where that is in me, right?
Mm.
If we see you know, we look at the Bill Gates of the world, we look at the Klaus Schwabs, the craziness of all of that realm. We have to realize that, like what is it? If we just disassociate and we just say, oh, like, I could never experience that, or I don't understand why someone can do that. I think it's also dismissive. It's not. it's not, you're not really doing the inner work. You have to kind of see like, okay, wait a second here. Like who, what parts of me that wants to have, control and power and
Yeah.
greed. So we can start to see like, okay, wait a second here. Then, okay, if I can see that in me, then I can actually, really truly face the evil or face the darkness. Because let's be honest, man. I mean, I think not Jordan, is it Jordan Peterson? Yeah, Jordan Peterson talks about this. Like, it's the element of you have to kind of realize that the monster within you in
Yeah.
order to kind of face some of the challenges, right? And then it's also, but then understanding that it's what's really important and what's required is to be able to control the monster within you, right? If you're just weak, then like, are you morally good? You're just weak. Like you can't be, but if you have the like potential to be like a son of a gun, like a monster, but you can coach that and control that, well then I think that's moral. That's morality right there. And so, of course, with knowledge comes not only wisdom, but also morality, right? Because if we are like willfully ignorant, we're like, just when you look at that word, we're ignoring, we're turning like a blind eye. We're not wanting to look at the darkness or the shady things. We're ignoring it. And that to me, I think is immoral. We need
Mm.
to actually really look at what's upon us. And, again, if it means to be like defensive, we need to obviously be we need to defend ourselves. But then there's also an element of when it comes to in like the whole legal or lawful realm, we have to look at at what their agenda is. Okay, they want. I mean, if I think I'm taking an equity course. It's in law. It's lawful courses, basically understanding like these identity, who you are, and you're not like the picture that's in your passport book. You're not the picture that's in your driver's license. You're not the picture that's on like your tax bill, like the all caps name. You're not that guy. So I think in order to figure out who you are, you have to first figure out what you're not. So you're not that. You're not the story that's up here that's telling yourself a shitty story. And then you're also, so then you have to realize, okay, wait a second, I'm a moral sentient being, but I'm attached to this all caps name, which is this birth certificate, and what the fictional government wants. Basically, it's a fictional government. It creates fictional entities in its likeness, which is basically the all caps name. And so it wants you as the moral sentient being to be accountable and liable for the business partnership that has your name on it, right? And so you have to realize, okay, wait a second. They like through schooling, through indoctrination, they're trying to get you to fight, dispute, debate, argue. Um, why is that? You
Mm.
know? So yeah, it's balancing like, the monster within you. You want to be like, this is egregious. This is, unacceptable. But that's actually where they want you to go. So you have to be mindful. You have to be, there's a place and time and place for sure. Hopefully, you know, not everyone's going to experience that. But when it comes to these practices of understanding and your when dealing with either these three-letter agencies or these self-appointed authoritarians or these folks, these humans that are dressed in badges and guns, you need to understand who you are and how to navigate yourself honorably, peacefully, so that you don't get yourself into further trouble. But yeah, I kind of went on to a tangent here, but
Nah, that's all right.
I believe you. But for sure, back to what I guess your initial question is. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is it's a lot of shadow work. It's a lot of understanding if I have the potential within me, then it can it can kind of, it doesn't mean that you excuse it, but it's way more, it's a better approach, in my humble opinion, to to um to eradicate it,
Hmm.
is if you see elements of yourself in some of these evil doers. Yeah,
Yeah. And I find that that's, you know, yeah, as you said with the systems and the three-letter words and the indoctrination, it's all I find it it's all one big game, and it's like the Hunger Games, it's like all those movies that yeah, it's like we're navigating our way through. I don't know if you've seen the Truman Show, but the Truman Show is perfect. Like we get out at the end of I believe there's a oh, here we go. I believe there's a dome over us and a dome underneath us, as above, so below. It's like we walk out at the end and everyone's clapping and cheering and saying you finally did it. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's sort of what we're operating in. It's just this one big game. There's things going on to distract you so much, to throw you off the course of your own life's mission, your own life's journey. And that's what this is. It's all one big lesson. It's all one big lesson of growth.
100%, man. No, I agree, 100%. Absolutely. No, it is. It's yeah, for
Mm.
sure. Yeah, you're here to, it's this school, right?
It is
You're
a
here
skill.
to learn and manipulate emotions and navigate things. And I've been it's funny that you said game. I've been incorporating that more and more in my lexicon and my own self-talk. I'm like, I've been incorporating more, like gamifying my life,
Yeah.
because it's like in a, I take life sometimes seriously.
Same.
And it doesn't, it's okay, it's good, but it's also, you need to kind of
Lighten
bring some
up.
levity and lightness to it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's also a kind of fun to it, kind of be like, okay, wait a second here. What, like I have a free will right now. I can do this. If I apply this strategy or this element, let's see what this consequence will bring. And not to, like, meaning like to fuck around and find out, not that element, but just realizing, okay, wait a second here. What can we, yeah, how can I bring some levity? I'm just repeating
Yeah.
myself, but how can
That's
I
all
bring some
right.
levity to my life here, which is good,
Yeah.
which is important for sure.
And that's the thing too. Like you go on this journey, and for me, I just took everything like, yeah, people around me have always said that to me, but then I sort of become consciously aware. It's like you go on this journey and you just take everything so seriously. And it's like I forgot to have fun. So then when I started working with children and stuff again, I was having more fun and more joy. I'm like, yeah, yes, there's a lot going on, but it's also a game of life and it's also fun. And yeah, for me, I lost a bit of that in the last few years and got it back in the last 12. And I'm like, yeah, this is fun. And that fun, playful energy is a higher vibration anyway than being in the fear and the terror and the seriousness of life. It's like, yeah, there's a time to be serious. There's also a time to have fun. Crack a few jokes and have a bit of fun and laugh. Like we all, wherever we are on the journey, we all sort of forget to have fun, and laughter is a medicine, a form of medicine, and we all need to laugh a bit more, I think, too. And that's what I was going to ask you too. Like, where in your life do you have more fun now? Like jumping on podcasts like this, or or, yeah, where in your life do you have like more fun? Like, what brings you joy? There's a
Yeah.
question for
No,
you.
great question, man. No, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think, um, yeah, I think absolutely podcasts. I love what I do. I love coaching. I love assisting some guidance where I can. I love nature still. I go for hikes and
yeah,
get
cool.
outside as much as I can. Um, and then yeah, just incorporating the daily mundane elements to life and just creating some lightness and levity with that for sure. It's weird, just with like the whole evil kind of element of things, right? and all of that. So yeah, I mean, I kind of stopped. I still don't. I don't watch, I don't watch Netflix or
No.
shows or any of that kind of stuff or movies. But just recently, it's funny because I have kind of started watching a little like some clips of comedy, and it's fun, And there's a part of me that thinks like, oh man, everyone's just compromised, and so I stopped myself from experiencing what it is, and so it's almost like this black pill. Like you get yourself into the situations where you just think like everyone's compromised, right? And so
Yeah,
and it leads to this nihilism, right?
I can
And
relate
that's
to
what I
that.
think. Yeah, I think that's what they want. They almost want you to kind of give up. I mean, it's sort of one of their strategies is to just completely buy into this nihilistic viewpoint that like, what's the point of it all? And you just kind of throw your hands up and give up. Um, and I was never there, but I could see like in the horizon that it was like, oh, okay, wait a second, rein it back here, Ryan. Like, let's just make sure that we're not going there. And so yeah, so it's just been fun to incorporate a little bit of comedy, but then but yeah, just spending time obviously with family and loved ones and friends and uh and just sharing the absurdity of things too, right? On one level it is like, it can be overwhelming and daunting, and I really truly believe that we're in a position to, like there is like this, for lack of a better description, there is this mass awakening, right? People
Mm,
are, I think more and more folks are waking up, but they're also um, seeing how obvious the lies and the deceit have been. And so that's been, in all honesty, it doesn't sound all that exciting or fun, but that for me, it's been like it's rewarding. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, we're making strides here. And
mm.
um
Also asking
but yeah,
questions too.
asking
People, a lot more
questions is
people are
huge.
asking questions, and I find now that I just probe people and ask questions to see where they sit on the scale and sort of gauge it and be like, well, yeah, people are asking more questions and people are saying that there are some things wrong, and it's great that people are asking questions. It means that they can just, yeah, go further on that journey.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely, man. No, I think it breaks people out of their
spell.
yeah, their spell, exactly, these like, old patterns that they're getting into. And you can also see like, where, if people are resistant to some of these questions, which some are, right? And you can
Mm,
be like, oh, okay, interesting, and then I mean, you get a lot of answers from that as well. You're like, huh, interesting.
yeah.
I'm just simply just asking some questions here, and let that be the record right there that you're, because folks who are not necessarily, feeling it, don't want the I guess the veil to be exposed anymore. They're going to
Mm,
be a little more adverse to the questioning, for sure. But
mm.
it's a good tactic, a good strategy.
It is. And to wrap all this up, I guess we've gone on some epic tangents here. It's been awesome to sort of listen to
Yeah.
your wisdom, and yeah, you've got a lot of knowledge and a lot of, kind of speak myself here. I got a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom, man, and it was really awesome to share the last hour or so with you. But to sort of wrap all this up here, what would be for someone listening? What would be a takeaway that what can someone take away from this and take away from you and your story and and the work that you do? Yeah,
Yeah.
what's the takeaway?
It's a good question, man. I mean, I guess I would say,
Ask more
um,
questions.
yeah, ask more questions, man. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to do with what you do as well, Nathan. You're right. So I think, who we are essentially is like, we're a set of programs, right?
Yeah.
We are we're running software that is either updated or it's outdated. And if we're running on those programs that are outdated, then we can see the trajectory of our life going in one way. And if we are able to, bring some awareness and some consciousness to that, then we can start to, limit some of these patterns that are no longer serving us. And so, Mark Passio, he's a great voice in the natural law realm.
Mm,
But he coins a good phrase, humans are not necessarily inherently evil, nor are they inherently angelic. Humans are inherently programmable. And
yes,
I think that is definitely something that is, you know, uh, that we resonate with our work. And yeah, if people are just realizing that like the content that they're ingesting and not only the food that they're ingesting, but the company that they keep, it's reinforcing some of these programs. And if we can start to ask more questions and start to break some of these patterns a little bit, we can break free of the hypnosis, right?
100%. Yeah. Ryan, thank you so much for sharing the last hour or so with me. It's been an absolute pleasure. I know my audience, bit younger audience, will get a lot out of this and a lot out of someone like you. And yeah, that's around the been around the traps, male model, Hollywood actor, and yeah, and an awesome mindset coach and a really awesome man out there doing awesome things. So I'm really grateful that I reached out to you, mate, because that was an awesome chat. We should definitely do this again and stay in touch as well.
I would love that, man. Yeah, no, thank you,
Yeah.
Nathan. Really
This
appreciate
is
you,
this
man.
has been the Breaking Free podcast, everyone. I've banked up a heap of episodes here, so there's some awesome guests that are coming, and Ryan as well. There's some awesome guests on the pipeline. So yeah, this show is definitely back on the road. Ryan, thank you again, mate. That was awesome. Ryan and I are
Okay.
out of here, guys. We'll catch you again soon. Cheers.